book lovers, it is GSwiz here, and I'm here today with my quarter 3 TBR. We are in Q3 and I feel as if this is gonna be a strong quarter. So basically these last few months have been really tough on me mentally, and life has just been very hectic in general, and for some reason, or really many reasons, I lost my passion for my favorite genre slash subgenre, which is fantasy romance. And that has recently changed because I started a fantasy romance novel. No. 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 No! Guys, the power went off in my apartment. What the fuck? My goodness, that was scary. Yeah, so the power went out, but this was probably the quickest blackout I've ever been through, even though it always feels like forever when you go through a blackout. It lasted for an hour and 15 minutes. My apartment smells like bookish candles. This is why bookish candles are a great item to have in a box. You never know when you're gonna need them. I don't remember where I was at with talking about my reading mood and stuff, but pretty much I started reading a romantasy book and I immediately started to crave romantasy, and so romantasy is pretty dominant on this quarterly TBR, and it really does feel good to be back because even though I've been enjoying my time watching anime and reading manga and then reading books in different genres slash categories, I just really missed that drive that I had to consume as many fantasy romances as possible within a year. The first half of this reading year was not the greatest. Yes, I did indeed read a few favorites, but I'm hoping that within this quarter and within the rest of the year that I will find even more favorites. So I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get straight into this quarter 3 TBR. Starting off with the obvious, I have the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. The final book comes out at the end of the quarter, and I need to catch up by rereading the first 2 books in the series and then reading the 3rd book in the series. This is a quartet altogether, unless of course Jennifer L. Armentrout is like, surprise, a 5th book. This was meant to be a trilogy, so that would actually be really funny. And I'm not gonna lie, I am quite excited about the rest of the series, but I'm also quite nervous because I just don't want another War of Two Queens situation. I know every single time I bring this series up, I have to bring up the War of Two Queens, but I mean that explains why I'm kind of scared. I am excited to read the rest of the series because I loved the first 2 books in the series, and I am pretty sure that Sarah and Nyktos' story altogether is going to be epic. But overall, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic when it comes to the rest of the books set within the Blood and Ash world. But I reckon there's still a chance that the final 2 books might just make my favorites list of 2024. I'm very much looking forward to reading these books. I can't wait to reread A Shadow in the Ember and A Light in the Flame because I loved those 2 books so much. I just love Sarah and Nyktos in general, and I'm just really hoping that the second 2 books in this quartet do not ruin their relationship for me because I love them so much right now and I want to keep it that way. And the next book that I placed on my quarterly TBR is Blood on the Tide by Katie Robert. This came out very recently. I'm very much looking forward to getting to this one because I really enjoyed Hunt on Dark Waters. This is technically the 2nd book within the series, but it is actually a companion series, and we are following a character that we met in the 1st book, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want to root for them because they are the ex of the protagonist in the 1st book, and I mean, they seemed sus in the 1st book. Maybe this book might just change my mind on them. We will see, but I'm very much looking forward to reading another story by Katie Robert because I love Katie Robert, and I was just about to say that I love everything I read from her, but then I remembered that I've previously read The Sea Witch, and The Sea Witch was a 1-star book, so I'm just really hoping that this is at least not a Sea Witch situation. I don't think it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure Katie Robert has grown as a writer since then. The miscommunication in that book is just horrifying in my opinion, but I'm just hoping that Blood on the Tide will definitely not be one of those situations. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like this book. We will see how we go though. And the next book that I've placed on this quarterly TBR is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. This is a spin-off book within the Crowns of Nyaxia series, but it was also part of a collaboration project with a bunch of independently published authors, and this is the 1st book within the Mortal Enemies to Monster Lovers series, and I mean, it's from Carissa Broadbent, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. So I reckon I'm gonna like this one. I reckon it's about time I get to it while I'm in the mood to read fantasy romance. So that is why I think that this is the perfect time to read it. Also, I just want to show you this naked hardback. It's so pretty, it's so gorgeous, it's so cool. I mean, I love all the naked hardbacks in this series, but this one is really cool and it very much suits the vampiric aesthetic. But yeah, we'll see how I go with this one. And the next book slash series that I've placed on my Q3 TBR is the Monstrous Matches series by Lillian Lark. This first book being stalked by the Kraken, and there are 3 other books in the series while we wait for the 5th and possibly final book. I'm not too sure. I hope it's not the final book because I do like my monster romances. I've heard great things about the series. I've been recommended the series many times by many people, and I am finally planning to get to it. I placed it on my July TBR, so I plan to get to it within the month of July. Yeah, this is just really exciting stuff. I also really love the covers in the series. I also mentioned in my July TBR video that my nails match this cover in particular, so that's pretty cool. Overall, I'm just really excited. I don't have much more to say about this series in particular, but I will say that the last Kraken book that I read, I really enjoyed, and that was The Kraken Sacrifice by Katie Robert. I really loved that one, and so I'm hoping that this book might just give me the same vibes. It might not give me the same vibes because it's set more within a contemporary setting rather than a high fantasy setting, but pretty much in this world, like, humans exist. I think that it's a modern day world, but there is a bathhouse that everyone goes to. This is technically part of the Monster Bathhouse universe. I believe there's another spin-off to the series that follows more Monster Bathhouse characters. I'm looking forward to diving into this reader universe. I was gonna say cinematic universe, but this is not cinema, this is reading. I mean, it could be cinema. Sorry, of course, I had to replicate that Scorsese meme. Yeah, Scorsese probably says this is cinema. I don't know. It could be cinema. I mean, we will see. And then I have an alien romance series that I want to get to within this quarter, and that, my friends, is the Infinite City series by Tiffany Roberts. I just want to read something else by Tiffany Roberts. I mean, I just really love their stuff. If you guys don't know, Tiffany Roberts are a comfort author duo of mine. Tiffany and Robert are a husband and wife duo that write monster and alien romance. Majority of what I've read from them so far sits within the sci-fi category, and I reckon the series will also sit within the sci-fi category. Now, I immediately had to purchase these books as soon as they got repackaged because these books were really hyped, but they kind of had the ugliest covers ever. In my personal opinion, they were just like stock image photos that were kind of photoshopped to make some of these characters look like aliens, or maybe they were wearing prosthetics, I don't know. They were just not pleasing to the eye for me, but Tiffany and Robert recently announced that they were doing a repackaging of this entire series, and that's when I knew that I needed to own these books, and now I need to read these books. I really do, because I love Tiffany Roberts' books, and I reckon that I'm gonna love this series because I hear great things about the series in particular. This is definitely one of their most hyped series. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the entire series within this quarter. I kind of want to, but I'm not exactly holding myself to it. I will give myself grace. I mean, I might just get to the entire series within this year, but like, if I do, it doesn't strictly need to be within this quarter, but I do want to start the series within the quarter. So that is why I'm placing it on my Q3 TBR. And back to romantasy. I have A Dream So Wicked by Tessandra Odette. Pretty much similar thing to what I said about Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. While I'm into fantasy romance, this is the perfect time and opportunity to continue on with the series slash world, or, you know, just finish a series, because I've wanted to finish this series for a while and I haven't been able to bring myself to start this book. I mean, actually, I started this book, but I didn't continue on with it. I didn't get past chapter 1 when I attempted. So it's about time that I just did it. I mean, I really do hope that I finish the series this year, because the series finished last year and I wanted to complete the series the year that the series was completed, but I did not. I mean, I have the physical copy in my collection now. I have the audiobook in my audiobook library, and look at this, right? I want to be able to simp over these characters because they look simp-worthy, and this art is also simp-worthy. Like, I'm just obsessed. I love this series so much. The Entangled with Fae series, or just any series within the Fair Isle world, I am obsessed with. So why have I not completed the series yet? I don't know. I kind of just didn't want this series to end, even though Tessandra Odette's recent release, A Rivalry of Hearts, takes place within the same world. That is kind of more like a romance novel than a fantasy novel. Maybe this one is also more romantic than fantasy. But what What I specifically appreciate about the Entangled Buffet series is that all of these are fairy tale reimaginings. So that's why this series holds a very special place in my heart. I just love fairy tale reimaginings. But I better finally read this book within this quarter or else. And speaking of fairy tale reimaginings, I have a Beauty and the Beast reimagining that I've wanted to read for so long, and I finally have all 3 books on my physical TBR. And that, my friends, is... I don't know what this series is called. I'm not going to say that this is the Bend Her series. But the first book is called Bend Her, and then the second book is called Break Her, and the final book is called Make Her. On Amazon, it says that this series is titled A Dark Beauty and the Beast Fantasy Romance, but on Goodreads, there is a different series name for it. So what I'm gonna do is put the actual series name in the caption so you guys know what I'm talking about. But yes, this is the first book in a series by Cassie Alexander. I barely know anything about this book except that it is a dark Beauty and the Beast reimagining. I've read the synopsis like once, and honestly, I don't really remember much about it, but I'm just expecting this to be a really dark fantasy romance. Like, I'm expecting the Beast to be very morally dark. I don't know why. Like, the covers are giving me the vibes. I mean, Bend Her is the first book title. Bend Her and Break Her, it sounds pretty extreme. This series sounds pretty extreme, but you know what? If I'm in a really dark mood, I know I'm gonna eat this up. Or maybe it might be the opposite. Maybe I've just come back from reading so many wholesome reads, and I just need something dark. I need to get out of a wholesome state. Then I will I'll run to the series. I'm just very much looking forward to reading the series. I have been tempted to start the series a few times now, and I'm even more excited to get to the series because I'm in a romantasy mood. Perfect time to do it. I'm really hoping that this series ends up being a favorite. If it's not a favorite, then okay, I tried. I do eventually want to do a Beauty and the Beast inspired book recommendation video because Beauty and the Beast is my favorite fairy tale, and Beauty and the Beast reimaginings or books that are inspired by Beauty and the Beast are books that I tend to gravitate toward the most. I'm hoping to get to this within the quarter. If not, then by the end of the year. I want to see if this series makes my favorites list for the year. The second last book that I have to mention on this quarterly TBR is Lore of the Wilds. I actually barely know anything about this book except that it has a love triangle, and this cover is stunning. I mean, it was in my monthly fairy loot, and I just feel like, as I've mentioned with the previous romantasy picks, if there is any time to stock up on my romantasy reading, it's probably within this period while I'm currently on my high. I just know that this high might not last. I mean, it could, but I mean, after the last few months, I wouldn't count on it lasting. I really want it to last though. I mean, I really want to be addicted to new fantasy romance stories like I was previously, but for now, I'm addicted. And for now, I do want to get through as many fantasy romances as possible, even if it means I read the ones that I might just be pleasantly surprised by because I barely know anything about them. But essentially, I barely know anything about Lore of the Wilds because it wasn't necessarily an anticipated release. It was a book with a very pretty cover, but it came within my Fairy Loot subscription. So overall, I'm just hoping to be pleasantly surprised by it. I'm just hoping that this was a book that rocked up to my doorstep and just wowed me. I have not seen many reviews for it yet. I'm seeing the hype and buzz around this book, but I have not been paying attention to reviews because I kind of want to go into this book not knowing anything, if you know what I mean. Very much looking forward to reading this and hoping that it might be a favorite. And last but certainly not least, the final book slash series that I placed on my quarterly TBR is the Shadow King series, or the Bride of the Shadow King series by Sylvia Mercedes. Right here, I'm holding up the Illumicrate special edition of the first book, which is adorable. I have talked about the set on my channel, and I love it. I'm absolutely obsessed with the set, and I can't wait to read the series because I've actually wanted to read the series since it first got published. Like, I remember when Bride of the Shadow King first popped up on my Amazon algorithm and I put it on my wish list. I was so excited, and then Daphne Press picked it up. So then I saw a second cover variant, and now I'm seeing a third cover variant, and I have that third cover variant, and it is so pretty. I love this holographic foiling, and this seems like it is also inspired by Beauty and the Beast because the Shadow King is kind of like a beast-like figure. It kind of reminds me of that / Hades and Persephone. But yeah, I've heard great things about the series, and I've wanted to read from Sylvia Mercedes for quite some time. I also have another series by Sylvia Mercedes that I do want to get to sometime this year, but if I don't get to that one within Q3, I might place that one on my Q4 TBR because I do want to read that series by the end of the year as well. But the overall theme of this video is me essentially wanting to read my favorite subgenre, fantasy romance, like it's the first time again. Like I'm first discovering it. Like I'm seeing this this subgenre from Fresh Eyes. I'm finally back. We're back, baby. We're back. And I'm pretty sure that my wrap-ups to come are gonna be exciting. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but I'm kind of hopeful for at least this next month, because right now, all I want to do is read fantasy romance. When I get to this one, when I get to all of these, I'm looking forward to this quarter. I mean, look, knock on wood, this isn't wood, okay? Knock on wood when it comes to life circumstances, but my reading life is looking like it's back. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the red heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at gswizzelbooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also GOODREADS. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.